through the solution of the exercise step by step. Of course, if you have not attempted it, I would advise you to pause it, give it a good try, and then come back to see this video. But if you have done it already, then well done, thumbs up to you. Work with me as I show you step by step on how to solve it. It's certain that your version or your code or your method might slightly be different from mine, okay? And you might have gone all the way using some long methods, traditional way of doing things, but in this video you'll be seeing how you can handle this exercise if you have even larger data sets, okay? And one thing you should know is that for the steps, methods, or queries I'll be showing you in this video, you do not have to know them before, okay? I'll be explaining it every step of the way, okay? And even if you've seen the previous videos on the SQL series before attempting the exercise, it doesn't necessarily mean you will know all the parts of the query I'm about to write. Of course, some of what we already have will be implementing the idea, the knowledge, because your ability to think and implement a solution with what you know, that is what actually makes you stand out or gives you the ability of who we call a data professional. Okay, so let's get started. The first thing we will do is to open the brief again. So let's see what we got in there. All right, so this is what we have, and I believe you actually went through this. So we have an online gadget that has been logging sales into the sales. All of this we already mentioned in the previous video, so I would not take too long to go over them again. So what is the first task to do? Of course, we want to load this raw sales into a database. But before we can do that, we have to create the existing database and also create a receiving table. Okay, there should be a table created as a recipient. Okay, now we have to create a database name. We have to create a database in our server, of course, in our Postgres server named TFA Gadgets DB. Okay. I think TFA Gadgets is okay because what we have in our servers are databases. So I can copy that, go back, and as usual, expand this. If you have not saved your password, on clicking this part, it will prompt you for a password again. Okay, so just do well to put in your password and continue it. So I think Alt-Shift-N will give me the option to create a new database. Right, how do you do it? You right click on database, go to create database, and click on it. So Alt-Shift-N just pops this up immediately. So we have TFA Gadgets DB, and all I have to do is what? Save it. That's all I have to do. So we just wait for that. Do not forget the shortcut again is Alt-Shift-N. Okay. So this is the only database that is active. Of course, our Postgres is always active by default. And the next step or the next thing to do is, as usual, to open a query tool where we can write our codes or queries, right? Alt-Shift-Q, as you can see at the top, will do the same job. So Alt-Shift-Q to open a new query tool for that particular database. All right, and here is what we have. Now that we've created a database, what's the next step? Let's check it out. So right here it says open a back playground, of course, for a new query tool. And next is to create a table first that will take in the raw data. You seeing this video, I strongly believe you've gone through the exercise video, so you know what the data set looks like already. That's why we're just going or moving fast. So for the raw sales DB, these are the columns in there, right? Because we have a data preview just there and the columns actually match. So I'll copy this to make my work easier. I'll copy this column, Control C, and come back to my Postgres. Of course, we write create table, and our table name will be what? Raw sales dump. Open this as usual, close with a semicolon. Do not forget that. And in between, I'll paste all of this. Okay, so I can, all right, so I can just bring this back, take this out, take this out, take this out, take this out, take this out. It's literally pasted the list option from the Word document. So the first one is sales ID. And now, what are the data types? That is the very important part. Of course, I can just write the data types offhand, but it's a good practice that you check what the database, which the data set I mean. So let's check the data set. Now this is the data set, and we have, okay, this as integer, right? These are numbers, so that will be integer. Of course, they can act as text as well, right? They can literally act as text as well. You can do that for them. So we have customer, that this is VACA as well. The phone numbers. Okay, let's expand everything at once first. Okay, so we have phone numbers, which will be texts, email, texts, product name text. This will be numbers, and this will be date. All right, so let's jump back in. So this, we said, let's just use integer here. Let's stick to integer. We'll necessarily not put any constraint on this table because it's just a raw sales dump. So we don't want to start struggling with something we still extract later. So the next thing is what? For names, we can do a VACA of 50. A VACA that's not spelled correctly. Okay. In this case of 11, that should be the maximum since it's a Nigerian code phone number and it does not include the country code. So that should be just 11 digits. So I can easily just go with character instead. All right, so character 11. And the next thing will be the email. The email. So the email will be VACA. And that will be 50 as well. And the product name, the same. So I'll just copy it and then paste as we move. Oh, okay. I think I almost done. Then for the price will be numeric. Right? We already talked about data types. If you have not seen the video on data types, you should, the description to the basics of SQL that we covered, where we also discussed the type, will be in the description below, or you check the top right or the top left, you see a pinned video there. I'll do well to check it out. So 10,2. Why are we using 10,2? The product, we have to keep scalability in mind so the product can grow, right? We can have product with higher prices. This is about how many digits? This is like 7 digits now. Okay, so we can easily grow into 10 digits. So keep that way, and other dates will just be a date. All right, I have to put a comma right here. We're good. So this is what I have for the sales table. And of course, I want to also run it when I'm done. So I'll do a select all from raw sales dump. So I see what I created. All right. So this is what we have. And let's execute our query. But before we execute our query, what about we go back to our data set and add some zeros to this place? What do you think? So I'll do that quickly. We'll be adding some zeros to this data set. Why? So that we have it as the first 0, 0, 0, 0. We don't just keep it like this, since we are saving that column as text, right? It's a good thing. However, if you did not do this, that is absolutely fine. We can do this in SQL directly, but to reduce the complexity, since this is more like the foundation for the SQL classes, so we'll do everything we need to do here in Excel. Okay, so let's just do that. Okay, so right here, we'll create a new column. Okay, then we'll call this phone. Okay, since we don't have our data in a table, we can easily duplicate that column name and there won't be any error. Okay, if this were to be in a table, it would have appended 1 to it for us. So how do we do it? We put a 0. We say we want to concatenate 0 and whatever is in this column. So that's all we want to do. See, just like that. Nothing serious. Very easy to do. And yes, now we have this. So we will take this out. But before we take it out, as usual, we have to remove the formula. Control C, Control V. The challenge is when we paste as values, we are likely to take out the zeros. But since the zeros are still there, now what you should not do is if you do this and convert to number, it takes out that 0. Okay, so we leave it that way. We want it that way. We don't have any issues with it. So what we can do is just to take out the green flag, we can highlight everything and ignore error so that it's a text. You can see it is what? Left aligned, the way text are usually left aligned. So let's save it. Make sure you save that file. Now that we have saved it, we can now go back, then run the code. Since this is a false code, I'll just run with this. Alright, so let me bring this up, and you can see it's created the table and it also ran the one beneath it. Right, I was able to use this to do all of that. Now that we see that our table has been created, the next thing for us to do is to load in the sales data. And of course, we'll scroll here. Alright, let me zoom in a little bit, just in case I've not been seen very well. Alright, so we have this. We'll scroll all the way down. Scroll all the way down to schemas. It's loading. Scroll all the way down to public. And then tables. Raw sales dump. And you can see we have our data right there. Okay, so the next thing for us to do is now import the data. We'll load it in. So I hope you did not have to bring in the you did not have to literally copy the data and insert it one after the other. If you've seen previous video, that will probably not be what you do. And of course, there are two options to this. It's either use the interface or we use the copy command. Let's go with the interface. Makes things just easier for us. You right click on the table, go to import, and of course, okay, we'll click on this, and yeah, this is our data. We click on open. What are the necessary checks? Go to this. Okay, that's not supposed to be on ignore. That's on stop. So if there's any error, it should stop. Our header is checked. Our delimiter is a comma. And all our columns are included. Alright, so let's hit OK. Everywhere should be green. Alright, it's all green. Okay, now that it's all green, if we run this again, Alt F5, you can see that we now have our data loaded, just like that. Nice. So we can now move back to our document. What's the next thing? We've brought in this. Next thing for us will probably be to extract customer name, customer details. Let me just use the word customer details, and those are these 3 columns, right? These 3 columns, we want to extract them on their own table. Why? If you look at it, based on the principle of normalization, there is a repetition here. You can see this guy's details are repeated. See, repeated again. So we do not want that. If we really count them, we'll probably have, let's see, 1, 2, 3. I think this is 4. We don't have this person before. Then this is 5. And who else? I think, okay, and this is 6. Who else again? I think we have about 6 customers. But due to the way the the store was taking the data. They have a lot of mess that we need to clean up, and that is why we were hired. Okay, so let's do our job. All right, the next thing is let's go back to the document just to confirm that this is the next step to do. Okay, so next. All right, so we've built the receiving table, we've loaded the data. Nice. The next one is now to create customer table, products table, and then other table that links them. So for the customer table, what are the things we need to do? Invent a new column, right? With customer ID, and make sure it cannot be empty. That means, and it cannot be null. Now, it cannot be empty, which means it cannot be null, and it cannot repeat. That means it cannot be duplicated. In essence, it's telling you that it should be a primary key. That's all. We want a primary key. Then we pick, of course, we had customer name, phone number, email address, and enforce a unique constraint on the email. Right, we want the email to be what? Unique. So let's go back to our data and do some typing. However, earlier I wanted to remove this on this customer we have, but I think it's okay since it's on the sales, is on the raw sales data. We can leave it that way. But for this one, we want to create now. Just copy this, then paste this down here. So this will be customers. So our table name should be customers. Of course, this will now be customer ID. We can just leave it as ID. All right. Then this should be name. Let's keep it short since it's on the customer table. Just fields. Just necessarily no need to say customer again. And yeah, those are the 4 columns we will be needing, right? So these are the 4 columns we will be needing. Of course, before we run this code, we have a few things to check. Okay, let me take out this first. Let's go back to our document. Now it says in the okay, this is the customer table. I believe there was an instruction for the IDs of the customer. Assign customer ID values in hundreds serially. Okay, so it should be in hundreds serially. Nice. So we want it to be 001, 002, 003, and all the way like that. I actually thought the idea of what I thought I actually put here was 100, 200, 300, and all. But now I just noticed this is what we have here, which is in hundreds, so we can accommodate at least up to 1,000 customers. That's the idea, just something small. 99,999. Okay, so let's get that done. We want to keep this in mind, but let's see how if we can do this in our what's it called, in our query. Okay, yeah, so let's go back and adjust this query, and this says it should be unique. Do not forget unique. Okay, first unique on the constraints, first unique constraint. Let's put that there, unique. Right, and then let's come here and work on this particular part. Okay, so I thought about something, because I have something particularly in mind for you, so that I can show you 2 options. I will be sticking to what I thought was in the document. Okay, so however you have done yours, well done. Remember, I just showed you that what I thought the examples I put here were 100, 200, 300, right? But since that isn't what I put there, I will still go with that plan. All right, so how would you have done yours if that was not the idea? I will show you when we're trying to do for products. I just want to ideas. I don't want to cut off one completely and then you miss out on how you could have done it if it were 100, 200, 300, or something serially generated that way. Do you understand? So let's see how it is done. So here I will say, now I want this to always happen whenever there's a new record. Okay, so how do I do it? I'll say generated always as identity. Okay, into bracket starts with 100, increment by 100, and then we'll say primary key. Of course, it's too long, so let's break that down. I'll hit tab. I'll also hit tab, and I'll also hit tab. Oops, okay. Oh, enter, I mean. All right, enter. So I'm saying this ID should be generated always as identity. Should start with 100 and increment by 100, and then the primary, and it should be a primary key. Now, if I just wanted to do normal one, I can say start with 1 and increment by 1. What this will give me is 1, 2, 3, 4, all the way down like that. But the ones with padded zeros, okay, 001, 002, we'll have to write something a little bit more different, okay? And I will still use that idea when creating for products. So stick with me. I'll just go back to the initial one. Let's do 100, 200, 300, and 400. Do not forget that if there was no zeros, would have just said increment, start with 1 and increment by 1, okay? But in this case, it will be 100, 200, 300, 400, 500, 600, 700, 800, all the way down, just like that. So this is what we have, and we want to run our customer query. So Alt F5 as usual. It says query returned successfully. Let me restore this. So it has been created. The next thing is to, of course, select from that table, select all from customers. Run it again, and you can see our customers table is empty. But here's where the fun comes in, okay? Let's go to dataset and see how we grab this. Of course, we can just run this instead. Now, what do we want to grab? We want to grab unique values, a unique row like this. That means it checks for the name, the phone number, and the email address. So we want to grab unique ones. So that means if it grabs these ones, we don't want it to grab this again. If it grabs Ayo Benson ones, we don't want it to grab this guy the second time. That way we'll get unique customers. So we can see earlier when we counted, I think we have about 6 customers or so. So when we finish our query, we're meant to get about 6 customers. So I know this is a place where you feel, okay, how do we do this? How are we not going to start from the scratch? Are we not going to start writing insert and then listing them one after the other? No, I have a good news for you, and there's a professional way to handle this. Like I said, this exercise will be done as if you are working with a larger data set. Because if you have done it that way, no worries at all. It's a small data set. It's something you can just take time to do like that. But at some point, when you have larger data, so let's assume the records are about 500. What would you do? So how do you do this professionally? Then we'll go and say insert into customers. Here we have to list the columns. Why? Because we do not have customer ID on this place, and we have, let me scroll up a bit, we do not have customer ID here because we are meant to generate it ourselves, and we have made it a primary key, and also it should be auto generated. So it should automatically do that for us, since it says it should automatically generate. So we are only to grab the customer name, phone number, and email. So since we're not grabbing everything, we say insert into customer, the name, the phone, I think this should have been tel number, we can rename that later, and the email. All right, so this is what we want to grab from, the raw sales table. Okay, so that's what we want to grab from the raw sales table. Then we now say, do not forget that semicolon denotes the end of a query. So instead of closing this or putting the values manually, we now say it should select those values that we want to insert. Okay, it should select what? Those values that we want to insert. From, so we want a distinct version of it, distinct, then we list them out as well. So customer name, customer underscore name, customer underscore phone, and customer underscore email. Customer underscore email. Now that we have that, where are we getting it from? We're grabbing it from the raw sales dump. So we're grabbing this from the what? From the raw sales dump. And this, with this code, we should be able to get the unique value we want. So insert into customers, the name, the phone, and email. Why? If we check our data again, that's what we have: name, phone, and email. Okay, so we're saying insert into these people whatever you select, a distinct. Now what distinct does is that it removes duplicate. Okay, distinct is meant to take out duplicate. If you've picked it once, do not pick it again. Okay, do not pick it again. So let's run the code and see. Let's hope it runs. Ooh, it ran. So you can see, just like we counted, this is 6. That means it probably grabbed 6 customers as well. And you're probably thinking, we omitted the ID column. What is it gonna look like? Do not forget that we automatically generated it. So when we run this again, boom, you can see we have this nice automatically generated what? IDs for our what's this called again? Our customers. Okay, so you can see I was able to grab it. This, and I believe this should somewhat follow the what's it called? Did it? Yeah, I doubt it did. So, but we have been able to grab what's the unique customer record. Now we have the customer table. Nice. So the next thing for us to do is to create a product table as well, and then grab everything necessary to product. Okay, so let's go back to our raw sales again. Alt F5. So what we want to grab from here is the product name and the price. Just the product name and the price. And of course, we'll automatically create a product ID. But let's refer to the document shortly. Now quickly, yeah. So for the customer name, it says do similar with products. Do similarly for products with its. Okay, that should be plural its, right? With its columns and its IDs, right? Its IDs in tens, but prefixed with the initial. So for example, it should be this should be wireless mouse 01 all the way like that. Okay, so one wireless 01. If we say headphone now, that will be headphone HP 02, etc. So let's see how we can get this done. So the first thing we want to do is to create a table, a product table. So go down. Of course, we can comment this. Now, what is a comment? Let's talk about comments quickly, because we're having our code bulky and long already. And a comment is just a side note, something like what you could have written in the scratch pad. Okay, it doesn't execute as a code. It's just the silent. Just like a side comment. It's not the main post. For example, someone makes a post and there are comments under it. The comments are just, oh, what this post is about, something like, of course, not in the world of social media today, but I'm just giving you an idea of, okay, comment, or let's use reviews. There's a product and there are reviews. Okay, the product is good, this product is not bad. Of course, there will be negative and positive part of it, but in this case, our comment is just to tell us what the code is meant to do. So this way, we're saying create receiving table for the data dump. Okay, of course, we loaded it, though we didn't use the copy command, so we loaded it. Creating customer table, and is it pushing? Let's use the word pushing records into the customer table from sales dump. Nice. All right, the next thing now is to what? Create product table. And of course, how do we create product table? As usual, we start with the keyword create, then we'll say table, then we'll do product, now products, open the brackets. In this case, we'll also be automatically generating the ID, but we will not do it at this point on the way we did this. Do not forget I told you that this is a particular ID I intentionally used so that you can have an idea of how it's done. If it's just a serial number, you can just do start with 1, increment by 1. That will give you 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You get the idea. All right. So, but for this, we will be doing it upon the insertion of records. So, but now we just create the table manually, just raw table like that. So ID, then we'll call it the ID in this case will be, of course, variable character. So I think we used integer for this, right? Okay, that was integer, but this one has to be variable character because it's going to be alphanumeric. So let's say 10 or 5 should do. 5 should do. And it should be a primary key as usual, unique identifier. Then we want it to be, then the next thing is what? The name. That's the product's name. Now, why am I not including the product as a prefix, like product and name, and product and this? Of course, this is a convention you see generally, most times online. But since we're in that table, we know we're in the product table already. So we'll see the ID, we know it's a product ID, we see the name, we know it's a product name, except there's a stranger in that table. That's when we'll now say, oh, okay, this is product name. That means coming from another table. Do you get the idea? So in this case, we just keep things simple and go ahead with this plan. So product name can be a lot, but let's see what we used for this. If it's not more than this, then it should not be more than. So 50, so we'll keep it on 50, not 100. Product name. And of course, the product name should not be empty. These are just good practices. I mean, we don't want to have a product that does not have a name that they buy. It does not make sense. So what are they buying? So at least our product name should be there. And since we said email should be unique, one thing we could have done is to also add not null. So it's either for the name or for the email address. These are just good practices. Of course, they were not included in the instruction. So ID, varchar, primary key, name, and the last thing is just the price, right? The price. And I think we'll just grab that from the top. Let's just grab that from here. Price. Okay, just like that. And then we'll put it right here. Bring this back. Of course, we don't want a price that does not have a value, right? So we want every product to have a price. So not null as well. And now we can close this. So this is our table. Yes, the last one should not take a comma, so I'll take that comma out. So let's see, let's run the table. All right, our table has been run successfully. If we restore this, see create table successful. Let's expand it again. Now let's do a select all from products. Not in there. Down here, select all from products. Yeah, products. We'll run this. So that we'll say our table. And you can see primary key, name, and price. Okay, from the products table. Now, of course, it can also make sense that if your data edits, someone looking at this directly can know, okay, we're looking at the product table, and those prefixes will really help. So if you've done it that way, that is absolutely good. That is very good. Just finding a way to simplify these things while we move. Now, the next thing for us to do is what? To generate IDs. But let's look at our document and see the idea again. So the idea says this. So let's copy it and bring it here. So we want to grab, while inserting now, this is the pro way of doing it. There are various ways you could have done it, way complex ways, but I'll be using the simplest way you can follow through while still working efficiently, while working as if we're handling large data sets. Okay, you could have done it manually because you might not wrap your head around how to go about it. You could have gone online, search, see different queries that you don't even understand, and all of that. Okay, but I'll walk you through a very simple process. I use the word simple because even though it's strange to you, you will be able to relate with it, except you do not have the knowledge of Excel. And if you don't have the knowledge of Excel at all, I have a complete playlist on Excel videos that takes you from the very beginner or the very beginning of Excel, just understanding where to click, what to do, all the way to the point where you can create a dashboard on your own. So if you've not seen that video at all, you should check the link in the description below, and of course it should be somewhere at the top left or right. Yeah, somewhere there. Right now you see a video card appear up there, so you can just click on it. It will take you to that particular playlist where you see all the videos that have been created before. And yes, that particular playlist will be the optimized version of the previous one. When I mean the optimized version of the previous one, it means where the audio has been remastered, because there were a few comments that some of the audios of the previous Excel videos were low. So I made an announcement about it and gave some quick fixes on it. The video should be at the top as well, or it should be in the description playlist. And I eventually have remastered the videos, so it's now being re-uploaded, so you should find it at the top, left or right, somewhere up there. So yes, let's continue with what we want to do. So this is the idea of what we want to do. So we say, as usual, just the idea. We use that at this point, and of course we did not include values, the word values in this case, right? If you notice, you'd have said, oh, okay, we didn't do insert into customers, then values. No, because we're using a select, we necessarily do not need to put values. Okay, so this, and then next thing we want to do is, no, this is not customer. So for products, we'll be doing insert into products. Insert into products. What are we grabbing? We're only grabbing we're grabbing everything actually, because we'll be doing that upon creation. So the ID, the name, and the price. The ID, the name, and the price. So that's what we want to do. Then we'll be doing a select as usual. So select. Now for the first one, which will be our product ID. For the first one, that will be our product ID. We must do concatenation. We must concatenate it, because the extra zeros you saw that was included, that I mentioned that it should be 0, 1. Like for example, this. No, it should be 0. This 0 should be there. Naturally, in numbers, you don't start them with zeros, and that's why if you notice in the Excel file you saw earlier, there were zeros initially, but when it was exported and it got to Excel automatically took out the zeros, because it knows that zeros are not supposed to be prefixed with numbers are not supposed to be prefixed with 0. But in this case, we want the zeros to be there. So what do? We have to do a concatenation. Apart from the fact that we'll be concatenating because of the zeros, we'll also be concatenating for these two initials, because it should be the names, the first letter of individual products. Let's scroll up and check what our product name looks like again. Oops, let me just expand it. So if you see, we want WM, MK, GH, and this will probably be 2M actually. This will be UD, EC, HD, etc. You get the idea. So we want to grab that. And of course, if you think back to Excel, you will know how simple this is in Excel. So we're using the idea of Excel in SQL. Of course, there will still be a video dedicated to functions, which is because in this case, this is a textual functions, the same way we have them in Excel. So you start seeing how everything makes more sense. You see that, oh, even though you've learned this, you can see synchronization that can even help you understand things better. So select, and since the first column is the ID, so we'll be doing a concatenation. So let me just put all my selected columns down here. Do not forget, everything I'm writing can be on a single line, if that makes more sense to you. So from what I want to concat, I'll pass it in there and I'll say it should be as ID. So this will represent my ID. What is as? So we have not covered it properly, but as is simply an alias. Now, alias means an AKA, a PKA. So this person's name is Jack Bauer, for example, and you call him Jackie, something like that, right? Or due to an occasion or an event, the person did something, they start calling the person Lion. No, that's not the actual person's name, but Lion is like what? An alias to the person. So that's what it does. So we're saying all these things we're performing, all this operation, I want it to be represented as ID. Now let me take a pause here to make this clear to you again. So let's take a pause. Let's go up quickly and run all from products. So currently our products, and bring this up, you see is what? ID, name, and price. I can decide to say, we want this to be, I want to select only the name. Unless I want to select only the name. Okay, the name, let's clear that out, name, and the price from products, right? So if I run this, of course, we'll be getting the name and the price only. But I can give it an alias as well. I can say name as product name, so that anyone seeing it will know it's the product name. It's not just anything. And also as product price. All right, so now they see that, okay, this is the name of the product and also this is the price. So since I'm selecting more than one column, I can break it into another line, indent it this way, and also click on this, indent it. As usual, everything can be on a single line, and this will be this way, right? So this is to show, I think I should bring this down a bit so you don't. Now, this is to show that this selects, everything here is what I'm selecting. So it's under it. That's why it's nested inside the select. So, but this one is on the same level as this. So let's check this out now and see what it looks like. All right, you can now see that even though the actual name in the database is what name, we're saying it should display as product name. So that's an idea of what? Alias. So let's go back to what we're doing. So we're saying everything that will be in the concat should be what? Should be an ID, should be represented as our ID. Of course, the next thing will now be the product name. So I'm saying select product name. So in this case, should be product ID. Why? The table we're selecting it from, this is the way it is written. Let me show you again. So come to the raw sales dump. I just want to select these things from the raw sales dump. And you can see in the raw sales dump, it's shown as what? Product name and then price. Okay. So in that case, this is generated, so we can keep this as ID. Instead, keep this as ID, but this should be product name. So we're selecting the product name, and we're also selecting the what? The price. Where are we selecting it from? Right? Selecting it from the what? The raw sales dump. Now this is a skeleton that we are still doing. Okay, this is more like the picture, the big picture. Okay, this is more like a syntax of what we will do. But if this were to be our actual code, there will be an issue if we select raw sales this way. There will be a conflict along the way, and we do not want that conflict. We do not want that conflict. So what can we do? We will need something we call a subquery. And yes, I know at this point you're saying, how do you expect us to have known all of this and to have done all of this? Of course, just as I mentioned at the start of the video, I do not expect that you know all of this. You would have probably used some maybe long traditional method, maybe as far as typing it all the way yourself and doing whatever it is that you need to do. Okay, so I do not expect that you should know or do it this way. What is subquery? Now, do not forget I also mentioned that even though there are queries you have not seen before, you will still be able to relate. I will simplify it for you, and I will also blend it with an idea of what you have before. And what's the idea of a nested query? A nested query is the same idea as a nested function. You are putting a query inside another query. That is all. So far, we only have in a query, we used to have just one select. But when you start putting a select inside another select, that is a nested query. Or a select inside the from, right? So that's a nested query. That's the idea. It's just an introduction to nested query, by the way. So, how do we go about that? If we were to do this, let's see what the issue with the data would be. We'll probably have a duplicate record. Why? Because it will try to grab all. And of course, if you probably say, okay, we use this thing here, probably that's what I'm missing. Yes. Now, I hope you know that if we put distinct here, let's say we put distinct here, what will happen is that, let's go to our data set, okay? Okay, it's not data set. All right. So let's go to our data sets. If we put distinct on everything, that means the first time it comes here, it grabs this and the price. It automatically creates a new ID for them. That becomes unique. It comes here, this becomes unique. It comes here. So by the time it gets here, let's look for another one that is repeated. So by the time it gets here, it still sees it as what? Distinct. Yeah, maybe that is not so clear. But if we do it that way, because the ID is now different, it will not be able to tell what is going on. So somehow it will still grab all records that we have and create them uniquely. And that's not what we want. Okay. So in this case, we have to say, at this point, we'll now put a from, then open it. That means what are we selecting from? So we want to select from a unique value. So we'll now say select distinct. So this is where the distinct distinct. So this is where the distinct will now be. That will now be product name, then the price. Okay. So that will now be product name, then the price. So I want to select that from raw sales dump. Let's take this back. So raw sales dump. Now all of these we want to select as, because we're selecting from something, so it should not, we should give it a name as let's call that unique products. Unique products. If this is sounding like a lot already, don't worry, it's just because this is the first time you're coming across it. So as we grow, or as we continue in the other lessons, it will start to make more sense. You'll now be able to read, okay, that was why we use this, that was why we use this, that was why we use this. Do you get the idea now? So I'll take this distinct out of this place. So you can see I'm still breaking down. Let's just expand this so that we can keep our eye on our query entirely. So what we want to do is perform some operation in here, and that will be our ID. We'll grab the name, grab the price from. So this one is selecting the distinct first, so that whatever we are creating, so this one runs first. Whatever we are creating will now be based on the result of this unique product, because we are selecting from what? From unique product. So that's the picture of what is going on. Just take a breath, take a walk, come back to it, pause the video, distract yourself for about 5 minutes. Trust me, it works. Just do something else for like 5 minutes and then continue playing the video. If you are feeling hyperventilated, there's a word like that, but so just calm the tension down, and it's just as simple as you're seeing it. Good. Now let's continue. So with this now, we can now say in here, we open this up, okay, then we want a what? The left. See, we have left in SQL. So left, we want to grab the left product name. So as usual, the text and the number of characters, is that correct? From Excel. Nice, that's how it is here as well. Very easy. 1. So we only grab one character. We put a comma. And I want to grab left again, because some products might have 3 names, right? The idea is to grab the first letter of the second name, right? So we're not grabbing from the right, we're still grabbing from the left, but we want it to jump and pass the first name. So that means we are looking for something like space. And of course, if you've seen the Excel functions, you understand how we do this. In Excel, we'll probably be using something such as find. But in SQL, pgadmin precisely, we'll be using the word split part. So let's do that. So we'll do a split part. So we're saying split this guy into something for us. So we're splitting the name, we're looking for space, empty space, you can see we're looking for the first empty space, and then we're grabbing the other side of the space. Let me just take out this one first so that I don't confuse you. So now we're using split part, the product name. I can break this down, but it becomes too nested. Now, why am I formatting in this way? So that you can follow sequentially. Okay, this is inside this, this is inside this, so it's not complex. Imagine all of this is on a straight line, right? So now we say for the left version of this, we'll first split it. We're splitting this on the first space, and of course, when it's split on the space, it becomes 2 parts. So we want to grab the second part, so we'll put in 2 right there. So consider all of these as only the product name, right? So what do we want to grab from here again? We want to grab just the first one. That's all we want to grab. And then we'll close the bracket. So we're saying this now is our product name. That means the one we have worked on, the one we have splitted. So since we splitted it and we're now grabbing the second part, how many characters from the second part do we want to extract? Just 1. The same way we just have it here, product name and 1. So that's what we also have right here. Now let's move on. I hope you are having fun as we progress. Now the last thing to do is to pad with 0, right? 1 0 1 0 2 0 3 0 4 all the way like that. Of course, so this is the first one. This is the second one, right? So if I bring this up like this, that will be left split part. I think it's better this way. Okay, so you understand that is the code. Now the last one I want to do is on the right, right? So this will grab, for example, W. This will grab, for example, M. That's for the first one. So we want the one that will do the job for what? 0 1. So this will now be a right. Let me take out the extra space. This will now be a right. And then for the right, we need a 0 first. So we have a CONCAT. And then we'll put in 0. Right. Then comma. We need something we call next value. So this will give us a random number. I know what you're thinking. Oh, I'll start with 1 and then do the... That's long. So what we'll do is say next value. So what is next value? Next value will point to something we have not created. Okay. Next value will point to something we have not created. So in this case, we have the right. We're concatenating this with the next value. Of course, this will be, we have two brackets. You don't forget, this one closes this. The next value closes this. Okay, right. So this should be inside, actually, inside the concat. Yeah. So we have this. So this closes this. This closes this. And of course, we want this to be 2. So what does the 2 mean? Now, the 2 is more for our next value. So that for the last one, when our count gets to, say, 10, 11, it doesn't pick just. So it now picks 0, the concatenated 0, with what? 1, 0, 1, 1. So it will be 0, 1, 0, 0, 1, 1, 0, 1, 2. Okay. So that we don't just have, since we're trying to do a 0 padded, so we don't just keep 0, 0, 1, 0, 2. When it gets to 9, 0, 9, then it goes back to 0, 1, which will not make sense. Okay. So I know the code is growing bigger already. So this will give us 0, 1. So what did I say we need to generate here that we do not have yet? And it's called a sequence generator. So go back to the top and we'll create sequence. Then we'll call it a product counter. So just do p count. Okay, let's do p-c-n-t. That's product counter. To make more sense, we can use an hyphen. So product, then counter. So product counter. Then we'll say, as usual, our start with, then start with 1, then increment by 1. The same thing we did earlier. So this is more like a variable that we're doing so that it does it. And of course, it's very important that when we are done with that, we probably want to drop sequence. And its the sequence name is what? P counter. Alright, so we probably want to drop this when we are done. So the first thing is, one thing we can use to run this, we can highlight. Now these are 3 queries now. Do you know why? This is a semicolon, 1 query. This is another query, C semicolon, 2nd query, and this is the last one. So we can highlight and run with this guy, the execute script, instead of the 1 button that we use. Okay, so we can run it that way. But let's cross check our code again, or let's just run it, and if we hit an error, we'll debug it together. So let's do F5. Alright, it's waiting for the query, and of course it ran into an error right here. Let's see the line. Let's restore it first. Next value, right? We created the counter, but we did not put it in there. So what it wants is that this p counter, so this is like the variable we created, so this is what we have to pass inside the next value. And I told you that it was supposed to pass something, and that's what I missed. So let's highlight it again. Highlight. Yeah, now you're learning other usages, other usage, okay, of this button. So let's run it again. Alright, see, drop sequence successfully. The last one is the result we got, right? It's probably executed all the rest. So how do we detect? Select all from products, and boom, we have 19 products. That was a lot. Nice. You can see Bluetooth speaker BS, wireless mouse 02, smartwatch 2M, right? Like I said, it's gonna pick 2 then M because we didn't look for the iPhone. Noise cancellation headphone, in this case where we have 3. We would have put that into consideration, but we just said okay, it does the first 2, and that is fine with us. It's an ID to always trace. We can, when we link it, it's always traced back to this, and you can see. But let's confirm if we're supposed to have 19 records. Of course, our entire records, we need to know the number. Let's check the raw sales dump. raw sales dump. So raw sales dump is 25. That means we have 25 records entirely. So, and since we run this, it's telling us that we have just 19. See, pay attention to this place, my cursor. So if I run this again, and it says we have 19. So it's likely that we have 19 unique products. The same way we have 6 unique customers from the entire 25 records. So we have 19 unique products. Let's find out if we're right or wrong. How do we check? Just a simple check in Excel. Or not necessarily in Excel. Let's check directly here, since we now know the use of this distinct. I was about to say discount. So let's do a select distinct, then select product name, and price from raw sales dump. So let's see what we get back. Run this, and you can see we're getting what? Exactly 19. So you can see Bluetooth speaker and individual. So we have unique 19 products, or 19 unique products. So that is correct. Okay, we're getting close to the end of the exercise. So let's see how to finish up. I'll take out this comment. Don't worry, at the end of the video again, I'll be running through all the code so we understand it as a unit again. Okay, so what we want to do here is push. This is where we push records into products from sales dump. So at the top we created the table. Now we're pushing the data. All right, let's move on to the next thing. Creating sales table. Create orders table. All right, let's check our document to see what the exercise there is for us. Okay, this is the data sets, but we want to go to documents, not data sets. All right, so for that, let's scroll up. All right, product table, store, linking back to customer, store individual sales, linking back to customer and product actually, and the product. So in this case, create a normalized order table, right? The orders table. Crucial steps is explicitly define customer ID and product ID as foreign keys that points directly to the customer ID and product ID in their respective tables. Then we insert the values as well. So that's what we want to do now. I hope you're having fun so far. All right, let's get this done. We have come a long way, so it's time to finish up. Now for the sales orders, I keep saying sales. For the orders, we'll create a table. So go create table orders. As usual, open a bracket, close it, put your semicolon, take your cursor between them, expand it, and then start typing. So sales ID, let's just call this sales ID or order ID in this case. Let's see. Since in our original table is sales ID, so call it sales ID. In the sales dump or in the data dump itself, it is sales ID, so stick to that. Is this sale singular? Oh, sale ID. Sales ID sounds more English. But alright, sale ID. Let's keep it that way. So sale ID, in this case, it should be an integer and it's a primary key. Let's check our sample data. You can see cell ID is actually integer 102, 103, 104 all the way down. The next thing is customer ID. So customer ID, is it an integer? Okay, customer ID is an integer, and its reference is what? That's the fastest way of doing foreign key, right? References. Okay, so references, the customers table, the ID on it. So we're saying it references the ID on the customer table. So we'll do the same thing for products. Product ID will, which is a varchar. Let's just pick what we used in here when we're creating it. All right, varchar 5. References as well. The products table, the ID column. So we're referencing the ID column on the product table. Of course, for the product value or for the price value, we'll go to where we created it and grab it from there. Not null, just grab it directly. And of course, we will also be adding the order date, which is the last thing. Order dates. And that will be dates, and it should not be empty. We don't want it to be empty. All right, the last one will not take a comma as usual. No comma at the last one or at the end. Again, why do we have this? Let's run to our original table. If you pay attention, we need this. Now we don't need all of this again. All of these are now represented with just the customer ID. So we have sale ID, customer ID. Then instead of product name, we just have the product ID. And of course, we're grabbing the price and the order date. So those are the columns we have down here. So that means in this place, we have them as sale ID, customer ID, product ID, price, and order date. So let's create our table first, as usual. Okay, table created successfully. I didn't include the select. Select all from orders. Yeah. Okay, so that's done, created, and these are foreign keys already. Customer ID and product ID are foreign keys already. Now we want to push data into the orders table. Orders table. Now, to push data into the orders table, we will be using our usual insert, which you're already used to by now. And do not worry, we will not be creating any, we'll not be starting any sequence, dropping sequence, generating anything. All we have to do is use our usual insert, then select. Okay. So let's go. I think I'll copy all of this. You know that we use this when we are not grabbing all columns from a certain place, or we're not inserting all columns into a certain place. So insert into orders, open this, delete one. So I can just paste everything in here, and of course make it make sense. Take this out. Oops, what did I do? No, okay. Delete this, and this comes here. This comes here. This comes here. This as well. And this as well. So that you can see it clearly, I'll bring it up. Customer. So grabbing the customer, the sales ID, the product ID, the price, and the other dates. Okay, that's a long one, but so I can just do this instead. And tab. Okay, so we're grabbing all of this. We're inserting into orders the sales ID, the customer sale ID. Okay, yeah, customer ID, product ID, price, and the other dates. So we'll do select as usual. Now, in this case, we will, even though we are not using what we had before, but we have something up our sleeve. And in this case, what we have up our sleeve is just the join. And why are we going to be using join? So that we can select distinct customer IDs from other tables. I hope you know now that customer ID is coming from customer table, product ID is coming from product table. So we'll also be learning join today. Of course, it's still an introduction to join. We'll still take time out to learn joins properly. But how does join work? Let's check it out. So we want all of this. I'll just copy them again. So make things easy. Copy them. Paste. So sale ID, customer ID. I have to list them this way. Let's expand this completely. And let's zoom out a bit. I hope you can still see this properly. Let me add, okay, to push that up. Good. So we have this, we have this, and we have this. So we're selecting all these columns from raw sales dump, right? Because we're using literally all the tables. Raw sales dump. We're joining that with what? The customer table. Then we use something called on. And of course, we want to join again. We want to also join the product table. And eventually another on. Now I'll explain what all of this means. I'm giving you the light version of it first before we now start writing our proper query. So we're selecting, do not forget that sales ID is on the raw sales dump, customer ID is on the customer table, product ID is on the product table, price is on the raw sales dump, and other data is on the raw sales dump. So we need to combine, we need to join all of this table together because they are separate, but we need to bring them into one giant table. Now, what does that mean? SQL will not automatically know which column are we selecting from. SQL will not automatically know which column we're selecting from. So how do we do, or which table we're selecting from, I mean. So what do? We have to concatenate, as it were, or the word use dot notation. So I'll do this, Control C, and then Control V. So it should be raw sales dump dot sales ID. And yes, one thing you can always do is what? Control space. Now, this is not as efficient as the way you see it in other, what's it called now? Other, what's the word now? Yeah, management server, but of course we still get very good stuff because they preload the schema of the database before we start doing all of this. But don't worry about what I just said. Okay, so now we see raw sales dump. You can select the sales ID. So that is then that this is coming from this column. Okay, but in that case, we also have to do what? Customer dot customer ID, and that is long, right? So what's the shorter way to do it? Do not forget that we have, or we have learned something we call alias. So we can say as, in this case, as R or as raw. Okay, should be in the front. So we're saying this table should be named R, this one should be named C, and this one should be named P. So let's do it again. Let's come up and say R, then Control and space key on your keyboard. You can see it is automatically picking it. So we'll do that. So we can take this out now. Or for the rest, we'll just type it ourselves. Okay, since we already typed it out. So C dot P dot P dot no, C dot P dot, and we want this to come from the raw table, and this should also come from the raw table. All right, so this is what we have now. So that is why we added all this alias. But SQL also gives us a flexibility of not even including the as in this case. So I can remove the as's. I mean the has. So I'll remove the has, all the has's that we have, right? In plural, if there's a word like that. So I remove all the has, then full stop. So we no longer have any has. Now, raw sales dump as R. Automatically, even though we're not putting it, it's still picking properly. Let me show you. If I say R, then Control space, you can see it loads my column name regardless. Let's try with C. Control space, C. Now it's not picking anything for that. Okay, so that's why I said you necessarily not get the feel the way you get it on. You get it from other management, database management systems. Okay, so let's try customer, then do Control space now. So it's still not bringing anything in for us, but it's okay. But the idea is that it's now picking this properly. So you see what we have. So we're saying select the sale ID, customer, insert into orders table, the sale ID, customer ID, product ID, price, order date. Where are we inserting from? We're selecting the sale ID from the raw table, customer ID from the customer table, product ID from the product table, price from the raw table, order date from the raw table. So all of these selection will be a result of the combination of these three. So from raw sales dump, join customer, join product. So the join of all of these is where we can get all these columns. Now the only thing that is left is the on. What does on mean? Before we can create a join, just as you must have learned from the foundational class in SQL, the video should be at the top somewhere now. Let's say top left or right, or you also find the link to the description. You will also find the link to that video in the description below. You will learn that for us to join, we need a common column between two tables. Okay, we need a common column between two tables. So if I say I want to join sales and customer, because sales join customer, that's the idea. If I put this on there to be from sales, from raw sales dump, join customer. So what am I using to join raw sales and customer? There should be a common column between them. So in this case, it will be the email address. Okay, the customer email. That's the only thing that is common between them. So customer underscore email, because this is the way we have it on the raw sales table, where it is equals to C dot email. Okay, C dot, it's loading, it's not loading anything up for us, dot email. Because on our customer table, we left it as email. Okay, email, we didn't use customer email, so that's what we'll do, email. All right, so this should be customers. I just noticed now this also should be products, plural. So C dot email, probably that's why we have not been getting that. So right, so that was why we were not getting the list of columns in there. So you can see customers and products. So if we do anything P dot something now, it should, okay, that's because directly, yeah, let's do it this way, P dot, so it will load what we have up there for us. Nice. So we have C dot email. So in case you forget how you typed it, that way it can easily bring it out for you. And then as well, you have on this one, we're also joining R. Just do this product name in this case. Then where it is equals to P dot name, because that's the only thing we can use to join in this case. I don't want this. I don't want this. It's okay. All right. So we're joining on product name. Product name. So this is our code. Now, what will the code do? Let's go back to the start of the code. You can see that we simplified it before we built it up to this point. And it's a very simple and straightforward thing. So we're inserting into orders the sales ID, customer ID, product ID, price, order date. We're selecting the sale ID. So where would these values come from? It's coming from the sale ID on the raw data table. The customer ID is coming from the customer table. Product ID is coming from the product table. Price is coming from the raw sales data table. Order date is coming from the raw sales data table. And of course, we're joining them together. Yeah, this is a lot of query, but let's just see. And of course, we had our select at the bottom. Select all from orders. Go up, just one line is fine. Now we can run this together, right? So we can take this out since we don't have it at the bottom. So let's highlight the two queries together and run them so we don't see whatever is there. Of course, this will run into an error if there's any error there, and it will not run the select. But if there's no error, the select will run automatically. Execute scripts. All right. Run complete. Says total code 0. And now it's shouting at us because on our customer table, we do not have. How do I know? You can see the underline already. And if I bring this up, you see it says syntax error near this. What is the error exactly? Our name. Let's go there. Our customer table has ID, has name, email. So we do not have customer ID, the same as product. So we will just remove this. And of course, we will remove this as well. So if we run this again, now we have another error. So it says near or at. All right, accidentally maybe I removed or I didn't put in the first place the comma after that place. So again, let's run it. All right, you can see it's running the select immediately for us. And yes, we have 25 records because that is what we have from our original what? Data. You've forgotten? Let's check. So, no, this is the, all right. So right here, see what we have. If you click on this, what do you see? Count is 26, right? Count is 26, but when we exclude the others, that's 25. Boom. We have been able to successfully create a better version of what we have. Of course, it took a lot, and imagine you're working with a larger data set and a more messy data set. Yeah, it gets more complex based on the data. So now we have the customer ID 300. So this person now 300 is the same person as this, right? The person bought this product for the first time, Bluetooth speaker. The person bought wireless mouse the second time, right? You can see now that our data makes more sense and our table looks even better. You can see our IDs are there just the way we're supposed to have it. Type the ID correctly to the people. All right, so this is where the matching is happening, so that it doesn't pick the wrong ID for the wrong customer. It checks their email first. If the email on this table is the same as the email on this table, then it grabs the ID for that person. And yes, this is a milestone. Congratulations if you stick to this part of the video and you're still in here, you're following through. Well done. So we're done already, we're close, but it is not over until it is over. So let's finish up strongly. All right, let's go back to documents. Okay, now that I've been able to successfully go through all the previous phase, the next thing for us to do is now what? The business rules, right? So it says the store manager decided that they will never sell item priced at 0 or less. That means no bonus, no free thing. So it says using alter table command on your new orders table, check the constraints. I think this should have been on the product as well. So check constraint ensuring that price is greater than what? Than 0. So we also have some other things to do. Let's see if we can just copy them so we don't go back and forth. Control C, come here, let's bring this back there. A scratch pad, we'll paste it in there so we can easily see what is going on from there. So tax 5, I'll take this out. Fifth tax, okay. So it says use alter to check. All right, that's the fifth tax. Okay, let's start with this. Now this is a very simple one. We've covered it a couple of times extensively. Okay, we've covered this extensively, and that should be in probably the first video on normalization when we're preparing our table for what it will take. And the video has been pinned at the top. You should see it at the top right or on the top left. Afterwards, check it out. It will also be in the description section so that you can check it out maybe after you're done watching this video. If you don't want to, if you want to stay through to complete this and then you go through that part later. Okay. So how do we alter it? So as usual, we'll say alter table. We'll alter product as well. So I'll do for products, you do for the sales, the orders, I mean. So alter products. So in this case, what are we doing? We're adding constraints. So we'll go there, we'll go that way and type it, add constraints. Then we can call it product positive pricing, or no negative price, no zero price, no below 0. Okay, let's just stick to a name. We want to give the constraint name. It's a good thing to do, right? It's a good practice. It's a good thing to do. So product positive price, let's just go with that. Product positive price. Okay, this is long. Let me come here and break it into another line. It should be this way. Okay, alter table had constraint, product positive price, and what should be the constraint? It should be a check, and it should be that price. Okay, since it's a function, let's stick the bracket to it together. So price should be greater than 0. That's what just happened. Okay, it jumped to the end. Price should be greater than 0. All right. So we say add this constraint to this table and to make sure that the price is greater than 0. Now the issue with this is if there was a 0 price or a negative price initially, this will run into an error. Okay, but if it's not, then it's successful. Now we have it what? Successful. So we can do the same thing for orders. Just change the table to orders. I think I should have prefixed it with the table name. Okay, so yeah, order positive price. Let's run that. That's also successful. So that means if we try to insert, feel free to give that a try. Try to insert a record with the product name with a product value, a product price below 0 or negative, it will not take it. It won't take it. All right. So that's that about that. So what's the next thing for us to do? We have done this. Let's take it out completely. So we want to fixing customer errors, updates, and delete. So update Musa Ibrahim's email address. Right, okay, we just want to change his email address to this. So let's copy this new email address. Alright, so I want to change this email address. So let's just write select. Now I want to show you something, and you see where the usefulness of normalization actually comes in. Okay, so let's run sales dump and see what it looks like first. That's what they gave us from the company, right? Now imagine where's Musa Ibrahim. See Musa Ibrahim here. So this is the first time. Okay, this is his first appearance, his second appearance, his third appearance. Now that means if we have him on other table as well, we have to start updating these records. Or in this case now we have to update, because we can't use this ID, we can only use his name. Well, lucky for us, we can use his name. That means it has to update this, update that, and it's a row by row operation. So it checks this, updates everywhere it finds Musa Ibrahim. That's not what's good enough. But now that we have a simplified version of the customers, so let's go to the customer table. We know we're only updating what? One person, 400. So we just say update this particular person where ID is what? 400. And this email update. So wherever we pull it up, we will get the updated email address. So let's do that quickly. So scroll down. Okay, so this is added constraints. Okay, so the next one is update Musa's email. So post this, of course we just have it, it's easier. So say update, we've covered update before as well. Update the customers table. Then we are setting the email to this new one. But how do we know which one to set? That's why we use the where clause. Where is a filter, okay? Where ID is equals to 400. Right? We saw it earlier that Musa's ID is what? 400. So you can see that currently the email is musa@email.com. But now we want it to be musaibrahim@email.com. Probably change this email. So let's run that. It says 1, it says update 1. So that means it's successful. So if we run our select all again, select all from customers. Of course, we can rewrite it, by the way. But since I have it somewhere up here, I'll just take it down. All our selects can be at the bottom, the entire bottom, extreme bottom of the table. So run this, scroll up again. Now if we check it, we now have it as what? musaibrahim@email.com. And yes, congratulations, we have successfully done that again. So we have done that again. So the next thing is to, however we text 6 right, update using his unique ID. Good. So let's take this out carefully. We have a delete option as well. Now delete the order 105 completely from your orders table using the delete statement. So as I said, let's bring the orders again as well to the end of the table, or the end of our query, our script. Yeah. So the order 105, we want to take it out completely. Do we have a order with 105? Let's check. Okay, so this is it. We want to take this order out completely. All right. So how do we do that? We'll go here and we'll say delete from others. Then the only thing we need to do is to what? Add the clause where sale ID is equals to 105. So if we run this, delete successful. Now if we say select others again, where, let me just copy this so that I can be sure that it's gone. So if we say where other is 105, you will see it says what? 0. There's no other 105 again. Let's try 108 just to be sure. So that you see now it's returning something. So we had 105 before, but 105 is no longer available. Alright. And of course, if we check the entire table itself and scroll, because in a large data set you won't have to scroll this way and start looking for it. So that's why we used what? The where function. The where clause. So see 105, 105, 105, 105. 105 is not there. Don't necessarily do deja vu. If you feel you saw 105, it's not there. Okay, 105 is gone forever. So let's take this out. Now, one query says, of course, verification will select all. Well, we have used that over and over and over again. So we've done that already. The last thing to do is what? Write a second query to pull all columns. Of course, we want all columns from the orders table where the price is greater than what? Is that 50,000? Yeah, that's 5,000. So we want to pull orders above 5,000. So copy this down, paste this here. So select all from others. I can break it down. Then I say where price is greater, see, greater. They don't want 5,000 as well. Greater than 5,000, 00. So let's run that and get 16 records back out of what? 25. So this is where we have it greater than 5,000. Alright, and yes, that brings us to the end of our exercise. I hope you had fun. I'll take out the scratch, but I hope you really had fun with this. And yes, I said we'll go through these queries together. But first thing I must mention is that now, even as beginners, we have written query almost 100 plus lines. I don't know how much yours will be. Yours will probably be more than mine if you had literally typed in the insert values, that mean the records directly. If you had copied them manually and pasted them and you did inserts, you probably have, over 100 what's it called, 100 lines or 100 line of query, right? So of course, if we remove our comments and all, mine will probably be less than 100. Now, and of course, it's also because it was splitted into different lines. So congratulations again if you stick to the end of the video right from the beginning. And of course, maybe at some point you took a break, you came back to it. Well done to you, thumbs up to you. And I believe you learned a lot from solving this exercise. So even though we used new syntax, new queries, new codes, new keywords, everything was explained every step of the way. So let's just run through it again to see exactly what we did. The first thing is that we created a table to load in the raw data the way it is, the raw messy data. We loaded it in quickly and we checked, we verified that it was loaded completely. Then we created a customer table. Now, upon creating the customer table, we said we want our ID should be 100, 200, 300, 400, all the way down. If it's meant to be 100, 101, 102, 103, we said generated all these as identity. so that when there's a new record inserted, it updates automatically, and that generates ID automatically, so that when a new record is inserted, just keep going like that. Start with 100 again, and then increment by 100. So 100, 200, and it's a primary key. So that's the ID. Then we created the name column, then a phone number column, then the email column. Now, one thing you can do for yourself as exercise to practice the alter is to now change all of this to custom ID, even though it's on the customer table, so that when we run a selector, we can know the table we're looking at. So you can add customer ID, alter these names, change them to customer ID, name, phone, email address, and all of that. Okay. Alright, so we're pushing the record. To push the record, we just write a simple insert, and then we say the records should come from the raw sales dump. We don't have to type it again. So select this thing from the raw sales dump and dump them inside there and push them inside this. We're only grabbing the name, phone, and email. Why? Because we have already generated, the ID will be automatically generated. The next one is that we create a table for the product to receive the product. ID should be automatically generated, but the logic is not in here. Okay, so we check that product to be sure it's correct, and okay, I use this to explain alias, right? Alias explanation. All right, then this is where we used it, right, as ID. Yeah, when we used it as ID, so I had to go back to explain what is going on to you. So we created a sequence, more like a variable holding a value. I'll say it should be 1, and it should increment by 1. So that means 1, 2, 3, 4. And of course, we're also pushing using this idea, but slightly different. We are pushing with our logic for ID created in here. So, and this is a concatenation function, the way we have it in Excel. So we're concatenating by using left to extract the first character from the product name, and left also to extract the first character from the product name after the space. So we're splitting this into two parts. We're saying the second part, grab the first character, and for the right, we are padding a 0 before the actual number that comes from here. Okay, and this is to make sure we don't have duplicates. All right, so we're dropping our sequence so it doesn't just stay there. After that, and we check that our code ran successfully, we can see our data. So when I create the table for the orders, created the order table, sales ID primary key, customer ID foreign key, product ID foreign key, price not null, dates, and order date as well. Okay, so we pushed again. Because to push, in this case, we used a join so that it can pick the right customer ID and the right product ID. So we combine the three tables and we grab the sale ID from the raw sales, customer ID from the customer table, product ID from the product table, or the ID from the product table, which makes it our product ID, the price from the raw sales, and the order date from the raw sales. So we are pushing everything we grabbed, we're pushing it inside what we're inserting them inside the orders table. All right, and after that, we added our constraints. We did for product table and for orders table. We updated Musa's email address, and we checked for the two tables that they were correct. We deleted this particular order. Of course, there should be a reason for deleting a particular order in the first place, but it's just to practice what you learned. And of course, we're selecting orders that are above 5,000. And yes, we have successfully completed the exercise, or we call it the challenge, because it's really a challenge starting out. You see, we had to use other ways of handling large data sets. So this keeps scalability in mind. This keeps that, what if I want to do this again for even larger data sets? Now you know. Okay, and if you've gained so much value from this video, trust me, it takes you nothing to just hit the like button and share with someone who this might help. Okay, these are barely real situations you will face, and you barely see from the free university where we are on right here, where you're getting all those values from here all for free. So do well to leave a thumbs up, like the video. It helps the algorithm to recommend it that, okay, I think this video is actually solving the problem it's set to solve. So it can be, oh my god, possibate. Okay, I just saw that now. Okay, it's okay. So it helps recommend the video to other people who might be in need of it. So just do a like, leave a comment about it. If you have questions as well, do well to comment it in the comment section below. And of course, do well to check the comment section below. Don't worry, there will not be any quiz attached to this particular video. Right, well done so far. You have moved above stage 1 and now you are getting better. It is a compound effect, okay, and progress is gradual. Little by little it compounds and you find out that you're becoming better. But you find out fast that you are getting worse than you're getting better. It's just a way things are. You find out when something is getting worse than it's getting better. So when it's getting worse, just be like, oh, for like 3 weeks you have not done this, for like 1 week you have not done this, and then you try to go back at it and you've literally forgotten everything. But when you're making progress, you can hardly measure it after a short time. So just stay committed, stay consistent, and keep going daily, every day. Alright, well done completing this. Give you a thumbs up, and I'll see you in the next video.